Hey everybody, Jinza here, and welcome to a new Small Bytes Plus. So this week I'm going to have a look at an MMO that kind of caught my eye. It's called Blade and Soul, being brought to you by NCSoft, the guys behind Guild Wars 2 and all that good stuff. So before we get started on my character, as you can see here with its crazy outfit on, we'll get into that in a bit. I just want to go through, I'm not actually going to go fully through creating a character, but they do have quite a nice character creation menu. So the game itself has 4 different races. So you've got the Jinn, the Gon, which are like big stompy dumb warriors, the Lin, which are crazy little furry things, and the Yun, which are sort of sorcerer, majestic people. And there's 9 classes total. The classes are race locked, so if you like a certain class, you're going to be locked to a certain race. It's kind of a little bit of a downside, but overall it's not the worst in the world. A lot of the classes do have very basic stuff, but most of the warrior classes, as you imagine, are locked to the Gon, the big stompy guys. So I played a Jinn, but let's have a look at some of the Gon customization. It has a lot of different things. You can even change the background where your character goes. The pose they do. Some of these poses are on the Gon, they're not too bad, but on the Jinn, they looked a bit strange, to say the least. Some of the voice acting's not too bad, but the rest is kind of mediocre.
I'm ready for adventure.
Yeah. There's a lot of presets, and some of these characters actually look very similar to certain other games and anime, because the game is very heavily anime, Final Fantasy-esque inspired, with a sort of underlying oriental theme going on about martial arts and chi. So as you can see, there's a lot of different things. I quite like the look of that one, and you have all different eye types. Sharingan eyes, if you really desire. I actually put that on my Jinn because it's looked quite cool. All different brow types. You can actually spend hours and you can make characters all wacky and nuts and do weird stuff with their different positions. So you can either make a very perfect character for your liking, or you can just make a totally wacky, crazy looking monstrosity. So that's quite nice. We will jump into the game and I'll show you a bit about it. So one thing is, the initial loading times of this game can vary. It can take quite a while to actually get into the game, but that's because a lot of the game is done by very short sort of walls that you walk through. There'll be a slight stutter and you jump into another zone. You don't generally get too much of this loading time, so it can kind of be forgiven how long the loading times are. The game itself kind of looks quite nice. The character models, they move quite well, they look quite nice. The area itself and the terrain, it's not the worst in the world. It's certainly not the best, but it definitely makes you feel quite at home when you're here. And as you can see, you can actually see for some distance. I've only played about probably an hour of this game. I've gone through the tutorial and learnt some of the mechanics. And for the most part, the levels do kind of put you on rails. There's not too much exploration, not at least at the start of the game. The zones themselves, as you can see, the little zone I'm in, it's one of the first sort of starting zones as you actually join the other player base. And for the most part, it's not that vast. As you can see on the map on the side, you can sort of wander off down different paths, but the paths tend to take you straight to where you need to go, so there's not too much exploration at the moment. The combat that it sells is action based, so you actually click and attack. Well, at least for this class, I am playing a warlock as a Jinn warlock. Jinns are the Jinn, which is quite confusing. But yeah, so he's a warlock class, and for I don't know about the other classes, but for his class, he doesn't have anything like dodge rolling or that. He has a block button, but it's kind of clunky and doesn't work too well. I'd rather see dodge mechanics. It's a bit easier to dodge than to block. As if you've played anything like Dark Souls or anything like that, trying to get blocks down as different monsters do different attacks and stuff, and trying to get that nailed is kind of dependent on your skill. So I generally just spam the crap out of everything. So you have your bog standard left mouse button just does normal attacks, and right mouse button does a kind of sort of burst attack that does a bit more damage. As you can see, the Warlock is all based around throwing the little, I think what they're called in Naruto, tags or something. It's kind of similar to that. So you throw them onto the enemy and then you detonate them. I believe there's I can't remember the name of him for the life of me, so I do apologise. But you guys who play Smite probably remember there is a hero in that game that it works fairly similar to this character, how this character works. All the enemies and characters themselves, as you can imagine, they're sort of oriental based, all very martial arts. There's actually another player there fighting some stuff. He's actually playing as a different kind of character. There's this cool nice running mechanic, so you can actually get around the terrain pretty fast. You do have a stamina bar, so that does run out. You can't do that indefinitely, but if you jump and hold space, you can actually sort of glide and fly around, and that doesn't actually cost any stamina. So getting around the train is quite nice. It kind of reminds me of games like Prototype and stuff like that, where you're able to fly all around all over the place. The questing is, for the most part, I haven't found it too bad. There's a lot of stories, so if you're looking to just jump into a game and grind, this probably won't be for you, because there's a lot of cutscenes, a lot of story. That's why I kind of did hint that it's kind of Final Fantasy-esque. A lot of the characters are pretty over-the-top wacky, which I don't mind too much. I couldn't really see myself playing this a lot, for the most part. The combat's okay. It's not the best in the world. I mean, it works, but like I said, it'd be nice to have stuff like dodge rolls and stuff like that. But yeah, have a bit more movement to it. You do tend to just sort of wander back side to side, do blocks and that. You can have 4 different skills, not counting your normal attacks. And unfortunately, his first skill is the block mechanic, but you can customize that later on. You will unlock some other stuff and customize them. The actual effects and all the particle effects and how the animations for the actual moves work, they do look really nice. They're quite pretty. As for what is involved with your character, let's actually get to a safe zone, and I'll show you some of what is going on with the characters and how they're set up and all that good stuff, so we don't get nabbed in the back. So the characters themselves, let's have a look at the inventory. So you have this, I've only just got the first piece of this, but this basically gives you passive stat upgrades. It has, as you can see, set effects and that. You have all your slots for your headgear and stuff. I actually got this from, I believe it was a Humble Bundle pack. So I got some extra goodies. So if you did get I think it was the E3 pack, that you can get some extra stuff and keys that you can open chests with. You have all your bog standard healing items. The classes work very similar to most MMOs, which is kind of the norm these days. You know, warriors, mages, healers, and stuff like that. So there's not too much difference there, but how can you really do too much difference when people are used to certain things? There's also the actual business model of this game is free to play, so they do have, if we can get to it, the cash shop. Come on, let me in. Come on, there we go. So they have their standard cash shop. You can buy with real monies, so you can buy different gear and stuff like that. There are currently 2 factions you can play as, and right at the start you choose which faction you want to join. So I forget what the other one is, but there's, you know, light and dark one. And if you actually wear this constantly, the Cerulean Order, you actually can do world PvP. So if you're interested in that, in doing PvP, and while you're questing killing other players, you can do that. But it's optional, which is nice. I'm glad they didn't actually force you to do that, because sometimes you do just want to do your quests and that and not be hassled by other people. But if you put that on, suddenly you can attack other players from the different order and get reputation. There's also PvP, which you can queue for. I'm not entirely sure how well it works. I'm not really interested in seeing, because I'm more of a PvE guy myself, unless it's kind of big multiplayer base stuff like, you know, on Guild Wars 2, where there's huge wars going on. That's more my jam. I'm not really into the small arena type stuff. Then again, I did play quite a bit of arena on World of Warcraft, but that's probably the only exception for games of this type that I've done that. The most of the quests actually have voice acting with. Some of them don't, but most do. And for the most part, it's actually quite nice. Obviously, that's not going to be... If you're not really interested in that kind of thing, you're probably going to just skip past it to go through other quests and, you know, level up as quickly as possible. There's also you can take, at the moment, you can take surveys to get free stuff, because this game is, I believe, still in beta. And there's also, where is it? It's, well, I think I've already done it today, so it's popped up. There's also like a little wheel thing that you can get free stuff from. So the cash shop's not really a big deal. They have allowed you to try and get free stuff through the use of keys and whatnot. And yeah, so it's not too bad. The pacing, I would say, is definitely not the worst in the world. You can... I have got through the first tutorial areas and that quite quick, but definitely my main gripe is with just how crazy over-the-top anime inspired this is. I'd rather see something a bit more realistic. Obviously, this is just personal preference. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy stuff like this, where all the women and stuff are wearing very skimpy clothes and stuff like that, but I prefer my warriors to have a bit more substance to them and be big stompy, you know, with crazy armor on. But you know, it's personal preference. That's definitely not something about the game. As you can see, how it works is first come first serve for attacking, so there's no shared loot, which is a bit of a disappointment, because I do prefer that. It does make doing your quests and picking up items a lot easier, where you don't have to fight for enemies and stuff like that. So that's a kind of another downside. You know, after this, we'll have a look at the options menu, because that's probably one of the biggest redeeming factors of this game, is just how many options you've got built into the game itself. So let's just get out the way. Right, so let's have a look at the set. Oh, okay, maybe not, because we're getting attacked by a guy. Leave me alone, guy. I'm trying to show the viewers. Oh, also, you can actually hold tab down. I wish this wasn't a hold button, because some of the abilities actually require you to hold them down, and when you're sort of in combat moving around, it's kind of annoying. I'd rather just be able to tap to press that. But yeah, the warlock can I think it's about every 40 seconds summon a big demon to massacre stuff. So each class has a special ability. But if I show you some of the settings, so you got all your standard game settings. You can change how the camera does. You can even play with a gamepad, but honestly, keyboard and mouse is superior to everything. You have a lot of different interface thingies where you can track your quests and whatnot. All your status bars, you can even change how the reticle looks on the screen, and all the different colors for it, transparency options, all different name options. There is quite a few different graphics options that you can change. I just left it on auto options, which set everything to full. So the game actually runs quite smoothly, because I have a sort of mid-range PC, I would say. It's not like really top and beastie, but it runs it all right. You can change the theme of the UI, which is all these windows. You can rebind all your keys as you would expect, especially in a game as in-depth of this, so you can change that all around. And it's quite nice. And they even have, if we go here, built-in UI settings, which this is a big plus for me. I like to be able to move all stuff around and resize it and that. And obviously you can see there's a lot of different interfaces going on in this game, and it's quite daunting to start off with. But you can move all this around and snap it to different places and set it up on the screen where you like, so that's really nice. Let me offer this now, please. Alright. I think I don't think it saved it, because I'm sure I put that up on there. There we go. So yeah, this has been Blade and Souls. If you're definitely into a big anime fan and into stuff like Final Fantasy and over-the-top wacky crazy characters, I'd definitely recommend checking this out. I probably will play a little bit more of it just to, because it's quite enjoyable. I do find, as I said before, the combat quite clunky. It does work fairly well for the most part, but it'd be nice to have a bit more movement options around, especially for a class like this that is actually away, so you've got to actually kite stuff around. It'd be nice to have like double tap on the dodge roll. I do like the movement options, but you can't use that in battle. That's only out of battle. As soon as you get attacked, you can no longer run at your super high speeds. The theme itself, the Oriental theme, I do quite like that. I remember, it's quite a few years ago. I mean, a fair few years ago, I played Silk Road online, and I really enjoyed that because that was an Oriental themed game. So I do enjoy games like this. I like watching anime and stuff, but I'm not overly fond of playing it. I do like having big stompy warriors and stuff, and it doesn't really feel like that when you've got a character that's got a sheep's crazy little, what is it, kiwi sheep head on or something like that. The actual character models themselves look really nice, as I've already said, and just having like the in-depth character creation. I am a bit of a stickler and get a bit OCD about stuff like that, and then end up not liking my character and redoing it again. But as I said before, the question's not too bad. If you're into like listening to the stories and watching the cutscenes and stuff like that, you're probably going to enjoy it a lot. Just because there are so many cutscenes. I mean, within the first half hour, I only played like 10 minutes of it just because it was all cutscenes and stories. So that could be a plus side for some people, but a downside for others. So that's kind of a bit of give and take there, depending on your personal preferences and what you like. This has been Blade and Souls, and I hope you enjoyed this little first impressions. And you know what to do. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next week for another Small Bytes Plus.